something there. I know there is, if we listen to the earth once more.
My name is Deb Abrahamson. My tribal name is Skumkumilchin. I'm a member of the Spokane Tribe, as well as the Coeur d'Alene and Dene, something that's very sacred to our people. And that's the water that we see today. We're at the confluence of Blue Creek and the Spokane River here. Before Grand Coulee was built, this was a very small, fast-moving river. It wasn't a huge mass of water like this. You could ford it fairly easily at spots, so it was not like it is today. In the past, this area used to be just rich with fish and rich with all kinds of river mollusks and river eel, and our people used these items to survive, and we were known as river people. And when the dam came forward, Grand Coulee Dam, we lost that lifeways. We lost the use of the river as it was meant to be for our people. And that's very unfortunate because, you know, right now we see this wondrous body of water, this huge body of water, but it's really backed up because a dam was built. Prior to that, we had a river that was just filled with salmon and all other kinds of fish for use by our people. And we don't have that any longer. Other resources taken from our lands that created contamination. And unfortunately today where we sit is one of the most contaminated arenas, because we sit in an arena that is on the one bluff was a mine site called Sherwood Mine, and then down this Blue Creek drainage is the contamination from another mine called Midnight Uranium Mine. And so the concerns are that at one time when we had a river that flowed of its own accord and it flowed freely, and the people lived along this river in a far freer way than we live today, understand why we need to protect the rivers as we do and why we need to protect the lands as they should be protected, and that's for future generations. SHAWL was formed to address the uranium impacts and the contamination, the environmental toxins that have invaded our lands and our waterways. And SHAWL stands for Sovereignty, Health, Air, Water, and Land, to look at not only health-wise, but spiritually, the impact of the level of loss of our people through decades of genocidal movement that we've had to, we were subjected to, and yet the tribe has survived the boarding schools and, you know, the poor health care that has been provided by the government, and the taking of the resource drainage. We continue to survive and work at developing different means of being able to help the people understand that there are alternative ways, that as long as we can look at helping ourselves move forward, then we can make a better world for ourselves. We know what we need, we know what our families need, and if we sit and wait for others to do for us, then we're going to be waiting a long time, and we can't afford that in Washington, D.C. to be able to go and meet with the officials that are directly involved in the compensation to former uranium workers and help them advocate for our community, because as of yet, and this program has gone on since 1991, we have yet to have one former uranium worker be compensated for the level of sacrifice that they have endured as a result of working in the uranium industry. Maintain the importance of our waters and our land, and to really help us preserve and go back to what we once were, which were a strong people that relied heavily on the gifts that the Creator provided us initially. And that's what we look at, is we know water is sacred. We know this land is sacred. And for generations and centuries, our people kept it that way. And with the influence of capitalism and commerce and now pure greed, we're losing that, not only as a people on the front lines, but we're losing that as a society, because it always seems as if the corporations, their say comes before us as people. Well, there's a lot one person can do to change this. Many of the mainstream society, their ancestors were farmers who took care of the land, who took care of the water, just as our tribal people did, took care of the land, took care of the water. And that's all we ask, is for people today to think about how it is that I can help. What can I do to make it simpler and easier? And a lot of it is just living simpler, doing the things that we need to do, and not go for all of the razzmatazz that the corporations and the greediness puts before us, because it isn't working, and we know that. And as long as we continue to fight for the life of this water, as long as we continue to fight for the life of the land and the birds and the air, then we're fighting for our own life, we're fighting for that of our family and our community, but most importantly for future generations who deserve it more than any of us right now. And there were sacrifices our people did. Many of our ancestors sacrificed for us so we can be here standing, breathing, and living. And we owe that to the future generation. We keep being mindful that it's not so much about us today, it's about what comes in the future. And that's what we've been taught, that water's life, it's sacred, and we can't give up the fight. They used to talk about being so anxious to when the salmon were going to come, and everybody getting ready and preparing for hard work and preparing for long days of just working and being together to do the gathering, and being together to harvest the salmon. She talked about, just that it was a big gathering, and it was a time where people were happy. They weren't sad about, because they had enough. They had more than enough, and there wasn't anything to worry about. And that they could live with each other in harmony. We use it for everything that we need and do on a daily basis. And if we remember those things, how vital and important it is, then we should be doing something. We're obligated to this water to pay back in some way and help protect it, help preserve it in its natural state, and to really work at doing something. But we each have to decide what it is that we would like to see happen to make it better for us, but And so those kinds of things you can do is just use less, think about what you're using, and get involved in some of the efforts that are already moving forward. We are all obligated to make a difference in helping to keep our water clean, to keep our water sacred, and maintaining it as a sacred entity.
And we're always racing time to find a peace of mind, but it's all right there, right where it all began. Have you ever heard the factory roar? Smelt the sewage in the stream? Have you ever choked just from the air, the stuff we've raided clean? We stripped the land, we cut the forest, we harshed the river's roar. But there's something there, I know there is, if we listen to the earth, if we listen to the earth, if we listen